Syl, overwhelmed by envy, took my daughter in an attempt to show me the consequences of having a child who might overshadow her own. Her actions, however, led her to spend the night in jail instead. My husband William and I have been married for 3 years, having met on a blind date arranged by friends. Initially skeptical about blind dates, I was pleasantly surprised when William and I immediately connected. What started as a casual outing blossomed into a deep, meaningful relationship. We found comfort and a natural ease in our conversations, discovering shared interests and values. Our connection deepened, and we soon began planning a future together. After several months of dating, William and I married in a beautiful ceremony surrounded by loved ones. Our wedding day was unforgettable, filled with laughter, joy, and love, and remains one of my happiest memories. From early in our relationship, William and I both dreamed of having children. We envisioned a lively home with the sounds of little feet and children's laughter filling the air. However, our path to parenthood proved difficult. Despite our best efforts, including tracking ovulation and making healthy lifestyle changes, we faced continuous disappointment. We couldn't fathom why pregnancy eluded us when we diligently followed every recommendation. Determined for answers, we consulted medical professionals, hoping for an explanation or a solution to our challenges. Our journey, marked by love and partnership, was a testament to our commitment to each other and our future as a family. When the medical results arrived, the doctors reassured us that everything was in order. There were no medical barriers for either of us. They explained that sometimes conception simply takes time. They encouraged us to remain patient and have faith in the natural process. This news brought us both relief and a sense of impatience. While it was comforting to know there were no health issues to overcome, the suggestion to just wait and see was fraught with uncertainty. Patience is indeed a virtue, but it can be challenging to uphold when you're yearning for something so deeply. William and I continued to hold on to our dream, imagining the day we would celebrate a positive pregnancy test. Last year, our perseverance was rewarded. It began subtly with a missed period, which I initially dismissed as stress or a minor illness. However, when my symptoms persisted, my best friend, Eliana, suspected what I hadn't yet allowed myself to consider. She arrived at my door with a collection of pregnancy tests, sparking a surge of excitement in both of us. As I took the first test, emotions overwhelmed me. The possibility of being pregnant filled me with an indescribable mix of hope and joy. When the test confirmed my pregnancy, disbelief and elation took over. Eliana and I were ecstatic, our celebration loud and joyous, as we embraced the reality of the moment. That evening, I wanted to make the revelation as memorable for William as it was for me. With Eliana's help, I prepared a simple yet heartfelt surprise at home. We adorned the living room with balloons and a small cake to mark the occasion. William returned home to the unexpected celebration and was momentarily baffled, humorously wondering if he had forgotten his own birthday. I couldn't help but smile broadly as I handed him the pregnancy test. Watching his expression evolve from confusion to realization and then to pure joy was unforgettable. He embraced me jubilantly, lifting me in a spirited hug as we celebrated the news that we were going to be parents. Throughout the pregnancy, each doctor's visit brought more joy, and I cherished each ultrasound photo, displaying them proudly on our fridge. These moments of shared happiness and anticipation strengthened our bond and deepened our excitement for the future. Every time I walked past our growing collage of photos, capturing moments from our shared journey, a burst of joy would fill my heart. It stood as a beautiful reminder of the new life flourishing within me. William and I, in eager anticipation of our daughter's arrival, devoted ourselves to crafting the perfect nursery. Together, we chose soothing colors and cozy furnishings, each piece selected with love, imagining the warmth it would bring to our little one's early days. Shopping trips became adventures as we picked out adorable baby outfits and essential gear like strollers and car seats, each choice made with deliberate care. As we hit the 16-week milestone, a significant marker in our journey, We decided it was the perfect time to share our joy with our family. Planning to make it memorable, we organized a small dinner at our home, inviting only our nearest family members, setting it up as a casual gathering with a surprise reveal. The night of the dinner was filled with the familiar warmth of family chatter. Unexpectedly, William's younger brother Mark arrived with his girlfriend, Layla. While surprised, since we expected only family, it was typical of Mark's impulsive nature, so we chose to let it slide without fuss. Layla, vibrant and outgoing, already had a child from a previous relationship and was quite a bit older than Mark. They had met recently at the gym and were noticeably inseparable, displaying their affection freely, much to the discomfort of some guests. Despite the distraction, William and I were resolute not to let anything overshadow our announcement. As dinner commenced, we shared a knowing look and William cleared his throat, capturing everyone's attention. "We have something to share with you all," he announced, his voice tinged with excitement. With eager faces turning towards us, we were ready to reveal our wonderful news. I shared our collection of ultrasound photos with everyone, revealing our big news with a beaming smile. "We're expecting." Initially, the room fell silent as they absorbed our announcement. Then, a wave of excitement burst forth. Everyone leapt from their seats, eager to embrace us, offering congratulations and sharing in our joy. The energy in the room was electric, filled with love and excitement. William's parents were overjoyed, celebrating the arrival of their first grandchild. Their eyes sparkled with pride and joy, knowing our journey had been challenging, and this news was a blessing. My own mother, teary-eyed, embraced me tightly, her voice quivering as she asked, "Are you okay, sweetheart?" Tears of joy rolled down my cheeks as I assured her, "Yes, Mom, I'm more than okay." My brother and his wife were equally thrilled, eager to offer tips for first-time parents. I admitted my nervousness and the tendency to overthink everything. My brother comforted me, sharing that he had felt the same before his daughter was born, his wife nodding in agreement. At that moment, surrounded by family, William and I felt our dream was finally coming true. The celebration was heartfelt, yet Layla's reaction stood out starkly. While others shared in our happiness, she remained seated, glaring at us with evident anger. Her aloofness was so conspicuous that I felt uneasy. When Mark approached to congratulate me, I whispered to him, asking about Layla's demeanor. He shrugged it off, implying it was typical behavior for her, not something to worry about. As the evening unfolded, we gathered in the living room for dessert and wine. I opted out of drinking, and William supported me by doing the same. Conversations flowed naturally towards babies and parenting. I shared details about the nursery we were preparing, proud of the cozy space we were creating. The night was filled with joy and laughter, a testament to the love and support of our family, making the occasion truly special. Throughout the entire planning phase for Riley's nursery, Layla had been notably quiet, barely contributing to the discussions. Suddenly, she expressed a desire to see the nursery. Her request surprised me, but considering she was also a parent, I thought she might offer some useful insights. Agreeing, I led her to the nursery. As we entered, I observed her closely and noticed her lack of enthusiasm. Instead of offering the expected suggestions, Layla began critiquing various aspects of the nursery. She complained that the room was too brightly lit for a baby's sleep environment, although I had already planned to install blackout curtains for that very reason. Unmoved by my explanation, she then criticized the yellow color scheme, suggesting a more neutral tone would have been appropriate. I defended our choice, explaining that the color choice was simply a preference and not tied to any gender stereotypes. Next, Layla turned her critique to the baby clothes we had chosen, disparaging them as inferior and suggesting we should have sought advice before purchasing. Her tone was dismissive and condescending, which caught me off guard. Up until then, I had maintained my composure, giving her the benefit of the doubt due to her blunt manner. However, her continued negativity was too much, and I finally snapped, asking her pointedly, "What the hell are you talking about?" Her critical words were especially hurtful given the effort my partner William and I had put into creating a perfect space for our baby. It was evident she was not there to provide helpful feedback, but rather to dampen the joy of the evening. As Layla was about to reply, both my mother and mother-in-law entered the nursery, immediately brightening at the sight of the room and showering it with compliments. Their positive reactions temporarily eased the tension. However, I was not ready to dismiss Layla's behavior. I confronted her again, this time more firmly, asking her to clarify her comments. Both mothers picked up on the tension, with my own mother inquiring about the issue, sensing something was amiss. I took the time to explain that Layla had been quite critical of the nursery decor and even remarked that the baby clothes we had selected were of poor quality. Both my mother-in-law and another relative were clearly taken aback by such direct criticism, especially during such a joyful occasion. In a moment of disbelief, my mother-in-law chuckled and questioned Layla directly, who, finding herself the center of sudden attention, attempted to soften her previous comments. She explained that she thought the clothes felt too coarse and was merely suggesting that we might want to consider softer options. However, both my mother and mother-in-law were not convinced by her explanation. They disagreed, noting that the clothes were actually quite soft. Layla, feeling cornered, tried to justify her stance by stating her experience as a mother should be respected and that I should be open to criticism. However, before I could reply, my mother intervened with a calm but firm tone, reminding Layla that she and my mother-in-law were also mothers and would never make such harsh comments to a new mother. My mother-in-law supported this, sternly telling Layla that while giving advice is acceptable, her approach was not appropriate. Layla, feeling outnumbered and embarrassed, quickly left the nursery. I followed her, hoping to defuse any further tension. She walked straight to Mark, who was in the living room with other family members, and abruptly stated she wanted to leave. Mark, puzzled but recognizing her distress, apologized to everyone, congratulated us once more on our pregnancy, and they left. Later, Mark called to apologize for Layla's behavior during our announcement celebration. He explained that after a tough lecture from my mother-in-law, he learned more about the situation. Understanding the complexity, I forgave him easily. Mark shared that Layla had a painful history with pregnancy, having been a young mother at 19 and later facing challenges in trying to expand her family, which had put a strain on her mental health and contributed to the end of her marriage. Knowing this, I felt a wave of empathy for Layla, understanding how difficult it must be to see others experiencing what she had struggled with. Understanding her difficult past, I recognized that her experiences had left deep emotional wounds. Yet, despite my empathy, I couldn't overlook the hurtful remarks she made during our celebration, which prompted me to decide on keeping a respectful distance at future family events to safeguard the cheerful environment for our expanding family. Mark and Layla's relationship progressed, and when I was giving birth, Mark asked if Layla could come to see the newborn. Although hesitant, William and I agreed, hoping for a better outcome. Unfortunately, Layla's comment about our baby's sparse hair being a sign of future thin hair was another sharp and unnecessary criticism during a moment that should have been filled with happiness. This remark visibly upset William, and soon after their brief congratulations, Mark and Layla left as the atmosphere had turned tense. This year took a surprising turn when Mark announced he was marrying Layla. The news received mixed reactions, especially from my mother-in-law, who was visibly disappointed and had never wanted Layla to join the family. This friction had been building for some time, as my usually warm-hearted mother-in-law had been repeatedly clashing with Layla. William spoke with Mark, concerned about the haste of the wedding, only to learn from Mark that Layla was 4 months pregnant, a fact discovered 3 months prior and kept secret to avoid judgment before their marriage. Mark expressed his wish to wed Layla before their child's birth, a decision driven by their circumstances. However, wedding preparations hit a snag when Layla, having gained weight during pregnancy, could not fit into her chosen wedding gown. Despite Mark's efforts to find a comfortable alternative, Layla insisted on her original choice, leading to a demand to postpone the wedding. Originally scheduled before the baby's arrival, it was now delayed until after, adding another layer of complexity to an already strained situation. To accommodate Layla's preference for postponing the wedding, everyone understood and respected her choice, especially since it was her and Mark's big day. They deserved to have it on a date that made them feel at ease. About a month earlier, Layla had given birth to a beautiful daughter, and my husband William and I had visited them in the hospital to celebrate this joyful occasion. With their wedding approaching, William was set to be Mark's best man. Given that we weren't comfortable leaving our little Riley alone for the whole day, we decided it would be best to bring her along. After discussing it with my mother-in-law, we agreed that managing Riley's care between us would be feasible. Initially, I considered hiring a babysitter for the hotel room, but due to increasing worries about child safety, having a trusted family member watch over Riley seemed the safer option. During the reception, I planned to abstain from alcohol and retire early to ensure Riley was well looked after. However, about a week before the wedding, Layla called. During our conversation, she unexpectedly expressed her wish for Riley not to attend the wedding. Taken aback, I inquired about her reasons. Layla explained that she wanted her newborn to be the sole focus of the day and feared Riley might divert attention. I reassured her that Riley had already met everyone and wouldn't overshadow her daughter's presence at her own wedding. Despite my efforts to reason with her, Layla became quite upset and stated that if I couldn't respect her wishes, I should consider not attending. The disagreement escalated, drawing in Mark, William, and my mother-in-law. Mark later reached out to apologize for Layla's stance and reassured me that Riley and I were still welcome at the wedding. He encouraged me not to take Layla's reaction to heart. Although upset by the confrontation, I recognized the importance of supporting William and being there for his brother's wedding. I decided to set aside my frustrations and attend, aiming to foster family harmony and make the most of the celebration. This decision led us to the events that unfolded during Mark and Layla's ceremony. During the wedding, many of our relatives were charmed by my daughter Riley, noting her cuteness with admiration. However, Layla, the bride, often looked at me with disapproval, clearly upset that I had brought Riley to her special day. Despite this, Riley became the unintentional center of attention, and I made sure not to overshadow the bride. As planned, during the reception, my mother-in-law, William, and I took turns caring for Riley in our hotel room. As the evening wore on, my mother-in-law, slightly tipsy, was the designated caregiver while William and I avoided alcohol to remain alert. At one point, I saw my mother-in-law frantically searching for me in the hotel, her anxious expression alarming me. I hurried to her, with William following, concerned. She trembled as she informed us that Riley was missing. William was confused. He had just left Riley safely with her. It turned out Layla had visited the room, and after a brief conversation with my mother-in-law, who had stepped away to the restroom, both Layla and Riley were gone. Panic set in, and William and I quickly approached Mark, Layla's husband, to understand her actions. Although surprised, Mark urged us not to call the police, insisting Layla meant no harm. But overwhelmed with fear, I felt we had no choice but to alert the authorities and the hotel staff, who began an immediate search. Despite their efforts, there was no sign of Riley or Layla for over an hour. As tension replaced the festive atmosphere, the police arrived and took our statements. Amidst growing concern among the guests, a hotel staff member finally came with news that Riley and Layla were found at the back of the hotel. My heart raced as we followed him. There, we found Layla, sitting with Riley in her arms and smoking, her own baby beside her in a carrier. Tears filled my eyes as I took Riley back, while William confronted Layla about her reckless behavior. When Layla took Riley without telling anyone, her justification was simply wanting to assist my mother-in-law, asserting that Riley was practically family now. However, upon learning this, my mother-in-law, now sober and alarmed, furiously confronted Layla for taking our daughter without permission, especially since Layla had vanished when ML was preoccupied. Layla responded with a smirk, suggesting that if I had been genuinely concerned, I wouldn't have brought Riley to the wedding in the first place. Shocked, I realized Layla had intentionally taken my daughter to instill fear and teach me a lesson, making me think twice before opposing her demands in the future. Amidst our heated exchange, Mark attempted to defuse the tension, proposing it might be a misunderstanding. But when the police asked if I wanted to press charges, seeing Layla's unapologetic demeanor convinced me to proceed with kidnapping charges to ensure she wouldn't dare cross me or my family again. Despite Layla's shock and protests, she was arrested at the wedding. Mark pleaded for me to reconsider, but my mother-in-law supported my decision, deeming Layla's actions inexcusable. Afterward, I couldn't sleep, troubled by the ordeal and my daughter's safety. Mark kept urging us to drop the charges, claiming it wasn't Layla's true intention to harm. Over the weeks, I remained firm despite Mark's persistent appeals. The hotel's CCTV footage and Emil's statement supported the case against Layla, who now faced a court hearing. During a recent confrontation, William and I challenged Mark about his lack of understanding, ultimately choosing to distance ourselves from his denial of Layla's toxic behavior. At the hearing, Layla admitted guilt. Her lawyer argued that her actions were a one-time, emotional mistake due to wedding day pressures. She was sentenced to community service and counseling for her first offense. Layla later apologized to me and William, but we couldn't forgive her, the trust irreparably broken. Both Emil and Andrew have also cut ties with Mark, refusing any reconciliation.